So in the Philippines, you got to be really careful because there are lots of mosquitoes and they love to bite Americans and other people who are not from the Philippines. And some of them carry sicknesses. One of those sicknesses is called dengue. And I remember when I got to the mission, my mission president's wife, she was talking to us about you know, our health and stuff, and she was talking to us about these sicknesses that the mosquitoes carry, and she was talking about dengue and how we need to be careful. And then I asked my companion about it, and I'm like, so how do you know if you have dengue? Because I was just curious, I'd never heard of it before. And she said, oh well, you'll know if you'll have a fever, you'll this and this and that. And she's like, but don't worry, only people with weak immune systems get dengue. And so I'm like, okay, well, I probably don't have to worry about it. That's a relief. And I think it was just about 2 weeks later that, we were teaching one day, and, I was still kind of, getting used to teaching. And my companion, she was really trying to get me to teach in the lessons. It was really hard for me still. And so, that first lesson that we had, I was like, I feel weird. But, I tried to do my best. I gave my one sentence that I could manage because I was starting to, feel a little sick, and I still wasn't good at Tagalog. And, as the day progressed, I just started being like, oh, I feel lightheaded. What's wrong with me? And then by the time we were about to go to our last appointment, I told my companion, I'm like, sister, I feel really dizzy and really hot. And she felt my forehead, and she's like, yep, let's take you to a member who has a thermometer. We'll take your temperature. So we went to this member's house and took my temperature, and my temperature was almost 39 degrees Celsius. And I'm like, that means nothing to me. But apparently it was kind of bad. And I learned later that 39 is about 102 in Fahrenheit. And we texted the mission president's wife. We didn't have cell phones back then as missionaries, so we had to use the member's phone. We texted the president's wife, and we waited. And she didn't text back. I guess she was busy with something. But finally we said, okay, we got to go home. So we'll just come back tomorrow and see what she said. And so we went home, went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and I still had a fever. And so during our studies, I was just kind of like, and but we still studied, and I took some ibuprofen to get my fever down. And then we went to our district meeting, and while we were there, we texted our mission president's wife again using the district leader's phone. And that time she texted back. She told me what to take and stuff. And so then I also asked one of the elders for a priesthood blessing. I still didn't think it was very serious, but I, wanted to be able to work. So he gave me a blessing, and the rest of the day I could basically work. So I did. And we got home, and I think, that went on for a couple days. And I would get the chills, and I was really dizzy, and I just had this really high fever that went off and on because I kept taking medicine for it. And then I remember, the third day, the night before, while I was sleeping, I felt really hot, but I guess I was really used to it because I woke up in the morning, I'm like, I don't think I have a fever anymore. I'm just not even going to check my temperature. Then my companion said, Sister Bokweg, check your temperature. So I'm like, oh, fine, I will, but I don't think I'm sick anymore because I feel normal now. But I took my temperature and it was 102. And so we went, and my trainer, she said, okay, we need to call we need to call the mission president's wife, because it's been 3 days and we need to get a checkup. So we called her, and she said, okay, you go get a checkup. So we went to the hospital, and I was expecting a checkup like we do here in America, but we got there and they're like, okay, it's your turn. I went, and they had this needle, and I don't like needles. They're not so very fun. So it took, about 3 tries. They would try to do it, and I'd be like, no, I can't. And then I would go sit down somewhere, wait for a few minutes, and then they'd be like, are you ready? So I would go back, and I'm like, no, I can't. I went and sat down again, and then finally they drew my blood. And when we got the results back, my white blood cells and my platelets were really low. So we texted that to our mission president's wife, and she said, okay, pack your bags, you're going to come to Lawag. This is kind of alarming. You need to get ready. The office elders and the APs are going to pick you up. So we went and we packed our things for a few days. And then they came and picked us up, took us to the hospital. The nurses there, they said, okay, it looks like you have dengue. And so they said, do you want to be admitted here? And I'm like, do I want to be admitted here, sister? But yeah, they admitted me to the hospital. And so I was there. I was kind of laughing because I thought it was really funny that I was in the hospital after being in the mission field for a month. And yeah, it was just kind of weird to me. But yeah, I stayed there overnight. It was a Saturday, and the next day, my fever was gone, and the nurse said, okay, we'll let you out for now, and you can come back at 6 o'clock tonight, and we'll see if you're doing okay. And if you are, then you don't have to be admitted again. If you're not, then we'll admit you again. And so we got to get out of the hospital, and actually we had a baptism that day, so it was perfect. We got to go to the baptism. Our mission president drove us there. He went to the baptism with us, and then after that, he drove us back to the hospital. And they checked my blood again, which was only slightly easier than the first time, but not much. And now my platelets were down quite a bit more. I think they were down to about 90. The normal is about 150 to 400. And so my companion was like, this is kind of serious now, Sister Bokweg. And so they admitted me to hospital again. They stuck an IV in my hand, which hurt a lot the first time, but the second time it wasn't that bad. So I was a happy camper. Not really. But after that, I just had to stay there because my platelets kept going down. And for those of you who don't know what platelets are, like I didn't before, they help your blood to clot. They're kind of important. And if you run out of them, then you can die. And so, the only cure for dengue is to eat and eat and eat and drink and drink and drink and have an IV in your arm. But when you have dengue, your stomach's really upset. You don't want to eat, you don't want to drink. So I didn't really eat and drink very much, and my platelets kept going down. And then after a few days, they were down to 50, and my companion called and told the mission president's wife that, and she got really scared. She said, tell her that, if people, usually when people have platelets that low, they die. And so my companion, she told me that, and I was really, really scared. And I I asked the mission president to come give me a blessing because I was just didn't know what to do because I really didn't want to eat, but I knew that was what I had to do to get better. And so he gave me a blessing. And after that, my stomach didn't still feel very good, but I somehow just could eat again. I didn't have a problem eating after that, and my platelets went up. And after a week of being in the hospital, I was finally released. And yeah, then a few days later, I was pretty much back to normal, and I'm still alive. But yeah, I didn't actually tell my family that I was sick until I got home, which I wouldn't recommend because they were a little bit upset. But I would just laugh about it. But yeah, I just didn't want to worry them, but I think I should have told them.